Hello again, you sick, twisted weather freaks, and welcome to another fun-filled, action-packed, and intellectually stimulating edition of This Week in Weather. I'm your host, meteorologist DT here from Central Virginia, your commander of chaos, your colonel of confusion, your captain of catastrophe. Let's talk about this week in weather, and we're going to be talking about really from July 23rd. I started this on the evening of July 22nd, but it's now the 23rd, so we'll stick with that. And a couple of things I want to point out here. First, this is the newsletter, which you have seen before. I posted this over on the Blue Sky page and on the Facebook page. So this is the newsletter which comes out Monday night or Tuesday morning, and it mentions quite specifically. I call it one of my markers here. You can see it. Yeah, I'll change this color here so we can see a black mark. There we go. And you can see here the second big heat wave of the summer for the eastern U.S. starts Friday through Tuesday, and then expected major change. And the maps here to explain what's going on here. We have this big heat which comes up. A lot of cold front gets pushed to the north. Everybody gets very hot for several days. Then we get a major pattern shift here as we go at the end of July into August with a giant high. So we'll talk about this in more detail. But first, of course, let me remind you that this here is the Weather is Grains Twitter page, which I use mostly for my grain weather forecasting around the world. I do a lot of agricultural forecasting as a professional meteorologist for Europe and Ukraine and Russia, China, India, Australia, Brazil, Argentina, as well as the U.S. and, of course, the Canadian prairies. So that's the grain page. This here is the Blue Sky page for operational forecasting. And then, of course, you have the Mid-Atlantic forecast from my friends here in the Mid-Atlantic, where we can see that North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, West Virginia broken up into 12 zones. And you get all sorts of great information here. You get the fork temperatures, winds, types of precipitation events, coverage, some maps, and nice week 2 discussion. You get all this for only $35 a month. So it's a pretty useful product. Especially if you're doing things like, have a big wedding being planned, or if you're into livestock or agriculture or painting houses, or I have clients that use it which do asphalt because of the temperatures and conditions, others that use it if they're pouring concrete. So it's a pretty useful product. So you might want to take a look at that, and you can get that over here on the website under the shop page right here in the upper right corner. You can see that. All right, let's talk about the weather. And this is the sea surface temperature map for July 22nd. And what's important to point out here is, again, the amazingly warm water here in the North Pacific. It goes from the coast of Japan and Manchuria, Korea, right across the Pacific, not quite to British Columbia, but it dominates it. And if you look at that yellow color here, that's 6 degrees centigrade above normal. So all of this is 3 to 6 degrees centigrade above normal. When you have this sort of massive pool of incredibly warm ocean water temperatures, which have been in place for weeks and weeks and weeks, it alters the jet stream pattern. And when it's really big like this, it changes. The impact is global. So what this is doing, this is creating a very strong ridge in the North Pacific and a very strong jet stream to the north. And that jet stream is constantly bringing more energy into the central and eastern U.S., which is creating a very wet summer for a lot of places. Now on the Atlantic side, we can see that over the last 15 days, the Atlantic is actually warming up. So we had the really warm water here and the cold waters in the Atlantic. Now we see the warming occurring here very nicely, and the super warm sea surface temperatures off the coast in the Western Atlantic and over towards Europe, you can see now they're cooling off. All right. Now they're still above normal here, and the Atlantic is still a little below normal, but it definitely is trending this way, warming as we go into August and beginning the hurricane season. So perhaps the sea surface temperatures will get back to normal as we enter the beginning of the hurricane season. Whether or not the tropical Atlantic becomes warm across the entire main region, that I'm still not convinced it's going to happen. I think we're going to get back to normal, but it's definitely not going to be like we saw in 2024 or 2023 or 2022. Those sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic were just a torch, as we all know. You'll have seen the maps on that. So we know it was extremely warm, and it was basin-wide. So we're not going to see that, but it is getting back to normal. Okay. Now let's take a look at the impact of the wet pattern here. Now this is the rainfall for the past 30 days in the lower mid-Atlantic, what I call my home area. And again, this is southern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, all of Virginia, most of North Carolina, West Virginia, a little bit of Ohio, and eastern Kentucky. And what I want to point out here is the amazing rainfall in and around the Richmond area, just especially to the south, and then up by Greensboro, but to the west of Raleigh, right in this area here. That's 15 inches of rain over the past 30 days. And the purple color represents 12 to 14 inches. Same thing in Richmond. See that here? Okay. And then also you have blobs of it close to 10 inches in areas like Farmville and Charlottesville and Livingston towards Tappahannock. And of course, the light brown color, if you look at that, that's 6, 7, 8 inches right in here, 9 inches, a lot of these places. So it's been a very, very wet pattern here. Interestingly, as I pointed out before, look at Hampton Roads. Okay, over the last 30 days, yeah, there's been a couple areas. They got some good rains recently, but this Hampton Roads has been in the hole here for quite a while. Now, like I said, they've started getting some rains recently, so that's helped. But look at Williamsburg, Newport News has had the last 30 days like 3.5-inch rains, while Richmond's had over 12 or 13 and 14 inches in the Richmond metro area. So quite a disparity here. Okay. Now, this is just to give you an idea of the 30-day anomaly in inches. And you can see 9 inches above normal, 8 inches in Richmond. Meanwhile, look at the anomaly in Hampton Roads. All right, an inch or two below normal. The anomaly was a lot stronger than that 7 or 8 days ago. And also look in Greensboro. You can see the amazing amount of again, these are in inches. Now, and also it extends up into Baltimore, very wet, D.C., several inches above normal, south, in around Gettysburg and Lancaster and York, they're also well above normal. But notice that northern Pennsylvania and northwest New Jersey is not. This is the same map, but here, this is percentage of normal. And again, 200, 300% above normal in Richmond, over towards Farmville, Livingston, Charlottesville, a good portion of the valley, into Tappahannock, and then down towards Greensboro. You can see 200, 300, 400, 500% above normal between Raleigh and Greensboro, that whole area getting blasted with the rain. Now, this is the same 30-day map here I just showed you here, but here for the region. And what's important to note here is that, again, look, western corner, you can see the upper Mississippi Valley, what we call the western corn belt here. That's Wisconsin, there's Iowa, northern Missouri. So concentration above normal rain, then you get the stripe right in here again, and then it expands in the middle Atlantic. But notice that much of the upper South has been much drier. Now, if you recall, back in April and May into early June, they had tremendous rains in the deep South. So having a dry 30 days, not super dry, but a little drier than normal, is not the worst thing in the world for the southern states. They had abundant moisture here. But the problem is northern Illinois, Chicago, northern Indiana, Ohio, northern Pennsylvania, and all of New England. They've been very, very dry, as you can see here. And to give you an idea, what these, I mean, they have, it's not, of course they've seen some rain, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, but that yellow color is like, 1 inch of rain in the past 30 days in some of those places. And this map here shows us the anomaly in inches, again, for the eastern United States. And you can see here in the deep South, a lot of the areas and below normal in rainfall inches. I mean, not severely, being 1 inch, maybe 2 inches below normal for the last 30 days, it's not the end of the world, but it's a little drier than normal. You can see how wet the upper Mississippi Valley has been in this area here, and then right across southern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, into the mid-Atlantic, it's been extremely wet. But to the north of the black line, look at the dryness around Chicago, northern Indiana, southwest Michigan, and then northern Pennsylvania, New York State, and New England. That red color, dark brown, that's 2.5, 3 inches of rainfall below normal. So that's pretty dry. And they have not got a lot of rain in those areas. Okay, and just to show you the discrepancy, last slide on the rain, look at New England and New York State versus southeast Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, West Virginia. There's a big discrepancy here. It's either famine to the north and feast to the south. Very sharp dividing line between the two. So there you go. Okay, let's talk about the upcoming heat wave. This is the upper air map from July 21, yesterday. 2 days ago, actually. And you can see we had our ridge developing in the deep south. This is the beginning of the dome. This is a nice broad heat ridge here. The cold front came through with the trough, brought in the cooler air for the last 2 days. It's been very nice on the East Coast and the Ohio Valley. And there's this major trough here in the Pacific Northwest. And again, you see this huge bubble of really warm air, this positive anomaly. This is due to that incredible amount of warm water in the northern Pacific. That warm water is anchoring this huge ridge here in the Gulf of Alaska, which you can see here. So the two things are connected. So actually, that's the wrong map. I jumped ahead here. It's this one. Here you go. You can see where it's connected. Okay. So this trough is going to leave. When it moves out to the Atlantic Ocean, this ridge is going to expand north and east, and as a result, over the next couple of days. This is the surface map from early Wednesday morning, actually Tuesday evening. And you can see at 10 o'clock on Tuesday evening, you can see the high pressure dominating the mid-Atlantic, the northeast. The front is way down to Georgia, and the temperatures, while the everyone may not see that cool, the dew points are much, much lower. And that's the important thing here, because that enables you to breathe and go outside and not suffer horribly in that humidity and the heat. Now, this is Wednesday evening, and we can see the high pressure area is now beginning to move off the coast. You see that? So the winds are more easterly than southeasterly, and then once you get behind this front here, that's where the temperatures really begin to warm up. So and you can see that 90 in Nashville, but to the west it's at upper 90s. So and you're pretty typical here. And there's your front along the boundary right here with this front. So this high is going to disappear, and the warm is going to surge northward. So these are the max temperatures as of this Wednesday evening, July 20. Oops, I meant to say July 23rd. Sorry about that. And you can see, again, not bad for mid and late July. 85 degrees, not bad. I guess people expect it to be September and October. I don't in July. You have to keep your expectations real. So again, the temperature is not too bad. They were not too bad on Wednesday. In most of the mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, the Ohio Valley, and the humidity was lower. But that's going to change. Okay, so here we go, July 25. This is Friday. Now we have the ridge expanding up from the Gulf of Mexico. It's pushed to the Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania area. It's into Illinois, Indiana, right? It becomes quite strong. And then by the time we get to Sunday, the ridge just explodes and it dominates Pennsylvania, Virginia, all the way to Nebraska, to Texas, and the deep south. This is a monster heat dome. That's what this is. This is a dome. And you can see the jet streams running to the north of it. Energy coming in from California, passing well to the north, through the Dakotas, north of the Great Lakes, and then dropping down over New England. So that's what this is. So any disturbances here are going to pass well over the northern portion of the heat dome. Let's show you the temperatures. I'm sure you've seen this before, and you know it's coming, but we'll go over it briefly. This is our Friday max temperatures, and you can see readings in the mid to upper 90s. The Carolinas all the way into Pennsylvania, Philly, maybe low 90s into Boston, and then again low to mid 90s in the Ohio Valley. Now notice the warmest temperatures are here from New York City down to South Carolina. That's also the case on Saturday afternoon. And you can see again the temperatures are quite hot. In North Carolina, we can see readings now getting to, according to the European, and we'll see if it's right, 100 degrees here, and 100 degrees on the Virginia-North Carolina border. This is Sunday and Monday temperatures, and you can see there's a lot, that pink area represents a large area of 100 degree temperatures in central Virginia and in North Carolina. Now notice Boston has cooled off. They're down to the 70s. Albany is cooled off. Binghamton is cooled off because there is a clear front right here along Interstate 80. There's a clear front coming down, and then the front stays there, and this, of course, is now Monday, and you can see it Tuesday, and the temperatures are the same thing. So here comes the change. Now, starting on July 29th, which is Tuesday, the heat dome continues to retrograde to the west. Remember, the heat dome started here, and then it's here, and now it's moving back towards Missouri and Kansas and Nebraska. And the development of this ridge here, in conjunction with this gigantic low in the Gulf of Alaska, is going to cause this ridge to cause a giant upper low to form. So this causes this, which causes this. And that sends a strong cold front southward. And because the heat dome is going to retrograde all the way back to the southwestern states, this giant trough is going to get very strong and change the pattern. So this is July 31. We have the European in the upper left, the GFS in the bottom right. Both maps are showing the same thing. You see the big upper low in the Gulf of Alaska? Both maps have that. You see the big ridge? Both maps have that. And you see the giant upper low in eastern Canada, very, very strong for this time of year, and it drives a huge trough into the eastern U.S. You can see the cold front here, coming southward right through here, and it reaches the east coast, and it drops the temperatures. Now, the issue is where's the boundary going to be? Obviously, the cool air is going to be mainly east of the Mississippi River in this pattern, while the Plain States and the Rockies stay much, much hotter. That's through July 31. If we look at the extended European, this is the European AI model, and valid for day 892 hours out, July 31. Want to point out here, the European Ensemble AI model, which is different from the European AI. This is the Ensemble AI. It is proving right now to be the most accurate weather model in the world. The skill scores are beating the European Ensemble. It beats them in the 500 millibar error, and it beats them with the surface temperatures. So right now, the European Ensemble AI is proving to be the best model in the world, and the early results so far. But it shows the same thing, very similar. There's not much difference in these patterns. Not much difference here. We look at it, we can see the big upper low in the Gulf of Alaska, the giant trough running from the low all the way down to Baja California. That's pretty impressive for July 31. Ridge to the west of the Rockies, heat dome is very weak, not even there anymore. It's just a giant ridge, and this huge upper low for July 31. This is a gargantuan in Quebec, and the monster trough coming through in the strong cold front. If anything, if this upper low is stronger here on the European Ensemble AI than it is on the regular models. Okay, now we go to August 3rd, the 11 to 15 day. The trough on the GF, on the European, the upper left, looks pretty deep. You can see it. Look at the flow coming right out of Alaska, Western Canada, all the way down to Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, right through here. See that? Coming right down that way. This is the European Ensemble AI again. Same thing. Trough here, ridge, ridge. Look at the flow. Shh. Straight out of northern Canada into the eastern United States. Pretty nice. Looks pretty nice. What do those temperatures look like? Well, let's see. This is the max temperatures on August 1. And you can see this. Now, again, when I say much cooler, we're not talking 60s and 70s. This is August. The first week of August is always the hottest week of the year. The last week of July, first week of August. Yet the data is showing, look at these temperatures. Now let's be realistic, okay? 82 in DC, 82 in Richmond. This is the European Ensemble, not the operational one. Look at Chicago, 76. New York City, 80. Pittsburgh, 78. On August 1st. Okay? I mean, come on. You got to be excited about this stuff. Otherwise, why are you doing the weather? And this is August 3rd. Let me bring this front. You can see a little more. Look at these temperatures for August 3rd. I mean, come on, boys and girls. What do you want? Okay? These are max temperatures. And you can even think what the dew points are going to be. They're going to be in the 40s and 50s in some of these places. In the Great Lakes in New England. I mean, this is some nice air. Whew. This is August 5. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Okay. If we go beyond that, this is now not July 13, 14. Excuse me, get rid of that here. This is wrong. Okay. This is just completely wrong. But the final map here, well, second to final map, this here is a major trough. Now, this is now August 5 on the European Ensemble and the GFS. And they both are showing the same thing. So let's take a look at this. Let's bring this forward. Okay. Big trough on the east coast, on the west coast of North America, Eastern Pacific. Both models have that. See the whole heat dome in the ridge, southwestern states and the Rockies ridge? Same, both models have that. Look at this deep trough remember, these are ensemble mean averages. So it's always going to be smoothed out. But look at that not significant trough. This goes down to Georgia. Georgia in early August. Come on. And you can see, and now, again, the flow here is not coming as strongly out of Alaska, northern Canada. It's more coming out of the Canadian prairies. But this is still a dry, fairly dry northwest flow without a lot of heat. So, again, that's a pretty nice pattern. And this takes us to August 5, 6, 7, August 8. Not bad. Now, it's possible at some point down the road in August, the trough leaves and the heat dome gets to come back east. That's speculation. I don't see it happening, but it's possible. To show you the temperature anomalies, 11 to 15 day. This may not look like much, but 2 This is a sample mean. The actual numbers could be a bit cooler than this. But in August, temperatures a few degrees below normal. Every little bit helps. And more importantly, that air is coming out of northern Canada where the dew points are much, much lower. And that's going to make a real difference to the humidity and the dew points as we get into August. Okay, that's the presentation. We'll see what happens. We'll play it by ear. We'll do every Wednesday evening. We're doing these videos now, so we'll stand by and see how it looks like next Wednesday. But once we get past these next 4 or 5 days, we're going to be in really, really good shape going into the first week of August. This is meteorologist DT from Weather Risk. I will see you over on the YouTube page, of course, the Facebook page, the Blue Sky page, and on the website.